Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I have the pleasure of a second chit chat with the lovely Donna Burton from Australia. Good evening, or good morning, I should say, as it is with you, Donna. How are you?
And very late evening to you.
Thank you very much. Well, after our chit chat last time, when the record stopped rolling, we got onto the subject of trains. And we found out that we have both have a love of trains and steam trains. So tell me more.
Exactly. Well, I've always been in love with steam trains. My earliest memory is when I'm a kid, because my dad was a drover and I'd have to travel into the city to visit, spend time with my mum and my grandmum. And so you'd get on the trains. And of course, in the old days, there were only steam trains.
Yeah.
And so they'd stop and they'd have to put on water and stuff. And I remember this day I was wearing grey corduroy, the old bib and braces we all used to wear,
Yes, I
and had a
do.
little pocket right here.
Yep.
Yes. Well, I stole a bit of coal and I put it in the front of my jacket, didn't I? It made a mess, didn't it? I was
I
so
can
busted.
imagine it did. Black on grey,
And I
yes.
mean, that's one of my earliest memories. Oh, didn't stop me stealing coal in the future, just made me cleverer where I put it.
And not wear grey.
So I had coal. I had a piece of coal from about a dozen different trains I'd been on by the time I was about 15. So
I love it. I love it.
it's
So,
like going to boarding school in
yeah,
Harry Potter. You have to get on the train, you get off the other end, the same sort of deal.
yeah,
I used to steal coal for everyone and label it meticulously with sticky tape.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Oh, that's brilliant. And you mentioned that you had come over to the UK, obviously a number of years later, from having to travel on trains and steam trains when you were younger. And we got talking about the Flying Scotsman.
Of course, I thought all my Christmases had come at once when the Flying Scotsman came to Australia during our bicentennial year in 1988,
Yeah.
which is quite a while ago. And I would follow it everywhere because it had the Queen on it and other people on it. And, normal people couldn't get on it most of the time, or you had to book super in advance to get a ride on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I thought all my Christmases come once, and we'd line the tracks here and line the tracks there just to see that particular locomotive,
Yeah.
and it was incredible. And then, of course, as we discussed, we were in England. I think it was 2016. We'd had an extra day to spend in Dover because there was something where we couldn't get into Berlin because of the weather. So we had this extra day in Dover. So we booked ourselves to come up to Yorkshire and back, thinking we'd go and have a look at it in the museum. Yes, our plan was to go up, have a look at it, do the rest of Yorkshire, and then get back in time to get back on the boat by 10 o'clock that night. Well, the train to get there was, I mean, having said that, the train system in Britain is so much more efficient than ours anyway. They're actually on time and on everything. It's incredible. And they're so fast.
That's not what people say here.
They need to come out here then. Um, we just had a recent thing where something went down and no one could travel for a whole day. And so the following week, they give everyone a fare free Monday.
God, chaos.
It's daft, but
Mm.
yeah, so we went up there, and what I didn't know was that she wasn't in her normal spot where you could see her because she'd run the night day before. And so she was in an outside area. And so all day I'm moping around looking at the Mallard and all the other beautiful, amazing trains over there. Oh, I tell you what else I liked was the royal carriages,
Yes.
like pomp and ceremony where the royalty would sit and Queen Victoria
Mhm.
and everybody. That was pretty cool. But anyway, I'm moping around and I've got my Aussie cap on, says, Australia. And I'm telling everyone who'll listen amongst the volunteers, I've come all the way from Australia just to see the Flying Scotsman. Well, which wasn't quite true, but we only come to Yorkshire to see the Flying Scotsman. And I don't know. I think maybe it was the whole reason we went to Yorkshire was to see the Flying Scotsman anyway, because my husband's into more modern trains, but nobody can resist the Flying Scotsman.
No,
So by
absolutely.
the end of the day, so our plan was to get there first thing, do that, go and have lunch in Yorkshire, go and look at the Viking Museum, go and
Yeah.
look at York Minster, because apparently they're the must-dos.
Yes.
Well, we got kicked out of the museum after closing at about 5 minutes after closing time. So we'd been there all day because we got in just as it opened. We spent the whole day there, and then we had to run to see. We didn't see the Viking village, but we ran to see York Minster and take our obligatory photograph and come back. But in the meantime, my whole day was spent trying to con someone into showing me the Flying Scotsman. And eventually, this old fella, seriously, he must have been 100, but he obviously wasn't. But he'd actually driven her before,
Oh,
and so he was telling me all these stories. And he said, "By the way, love, would you like to see her up close?" I felt like saying, "Can a fish swim?" I went, "Oh yeah, that'd be awesome." I didn't
yeah.
want to look too intimidating. Um, and she took me out to where it was, and I was able to go and stand with it. And there's photos of me standing next to the wheels, and oh, it was so
Wow.
awesome. So I
How
achieved my goal of
amazing.
seeing touching a flying Scotsman.
Yeah. Well, my
But all the
recollection.
other trains were fun.
Well, I've never been to the museum. I've heard people talk about the museum, but yes, it's obviously a must go to destination, train wise.
Well, for train people, you
Mm,
can't not go there because
yeah.
they've got the Mard, they've got Stevenson's rocket, they've even got a working model of it. And you can see where they're doing restorations of things as
Mhm.
well as like where all the royalty stuff is, and a lot of the modern trains along the way. And they have videos and stuff going on and talks. Yeah, I can't believe you live in England. You haven't been,
Well,
but I guess it's like me saying you visited Australia, and I've lived in Australia, and very few people I know have been to Ayers Rock, so it's
but
probably
yes,
about the same.
we get complacent, don't we? But I have to say, I did actually see the Flying Scotsman when I was 13. She
Mm.
and I've got the brochure somewhere. I can't remember where I put it, but I have the brochure somewhere of the Flying Scotsman. And I cannot for the it's something that my parents took me to see. And of course, oh, you as a kid, you stick your heels in. Oh, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that, and and then years later you think, what a daft, what's it? I was, and it was the same. It was the same with Concorde. We went to see Concorde and were able to board her and look around and everything. And again, why do I have to go on and see this play? And of course, years
Well,
later, but yeah, it's
and of course, Concord sits at the same kettle of fish for us because it came to Australia so infrequently. When it did come, everybody went to Sydney Airport. I mean, remember, I live 6 hours away from Sydney
mm,
and the inland, so it's a day's trip to Sydney and back to go to Sydney for the day. It's a 3 day trek. But yeah, and we all lined up to see it, and then we were in. So the terrible accident happened, and then it wasn't flying anymore. And then we heard that it was on display at Heathrow, but we searched and searched and searched, but we couldn't find it. Heathrow
mm.
is sort of like a mini town.
Oh yes,
It's one of the best airports I've ever been in.
yeah, it's huge. I haven't been for years. I used to go and plane spot there. I used to go and sit in the car park and plane spot, and I actually saw Concorde take off from the airport. But yeah,
I
it's
can relate to that.
quite a beast, quite a beast. But yeah, it the other the so are there any other particular sort of trains that you've seen or hanker after seeing?
No, I saw the Mallard and the Stephenson's rocket, which I thought I've seen replicas of Stephenson's rocket in our house museum, but to actually see a Stephenson's rocket
No.
and going through the restoration process was amazing.
Yes,
because they
it
were
must
so
be.
far ahead of themselves in technology.
Yeah, incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I think in some ways with technology, we've gone backwards because the technology was so advanced back then, and it just doesn't, okay, there is an advancement in technology, but you just wonder if they were so advanced back then, why aren't we more advanced now? Because they were so
But
advanced.
why aren't we on the moon or Mars,
Yeah,
running space elevators or something?
yeah,
But what about like the other thing that blew my mind is England's pretty tiny compared to
yes.
Australia. Like you would fit into my in New South Wales a few times.
Well,
And
I think the
given that
UK would fit into
Australians were
Australia about 14, 15 times, I think.
yeah 15, 16 times across if you particularly if you leave Tasmania in,
Yeah,
which a lot of people do or don't.
yeah, we're
But
not very.
when you're no, just the efficiency, like the high speed rail between Heathrow and London. That was we don't have anything like that. Our our train trip from the airport to the city isn't standard suburban train, and you've got to struggle on it with all your luggage and everything else. It's not made for travellers.
I suppose we
So the
take it.
taxi drivers
Yeah,
do a great job.
of course. But I think we take it for granted, and we moan so much about our trains here because there's so many cancelled and they're late and everything. But then you don't relate it because a lot of people. I haven't travelled to Australia or many places in Europe come to that by train. I have travelled, but not by train, and I think we get complacent, with what we've got, and we don't realise compared to other countries the
I do. But the other
the
thing,
good.
you can go on the Eurostar. You can go like from London to Paris or somewhere on a train
Yes,
under an
I've done
ocean,
that.
under the water. Now,
Yeah,
I looked at that and I thought, oh, I don't like going on to any on driving in our underground tunnel is nowhere near as long as the trip to London would be. France, that I did
it
find
didn't
that
take long
interesting
actually.
that you
It
can
didn't take long at
train.
all.
No, the Eurostar is so fast and so efficient,
Yeah.
but it does come down to perception. I mean, I travel on trains all the time here. If I've got to go to Sydney, we drive 2 hours to Gunnedah, jump on a train. It takes 8 hours to get to Sydney. Stay overnight, catch your plane out or whatever you're doing the next day, or go and see the specialist,
Mm,
wash and repeat coming home. So every day, every sort of we get a train ride,
mm.
and on what we call the XPT or the Country Link, which are our fast trains, and they're lucky if they go 140 kilometres an hour
Oh,
because our infrastructure isn't built for it.
no.
We often have derailments of the coal trains and the like, which stops. Then you got to catch a bus, which is
Mm,
no fun.
no.
Because they don't stop as much like buffet. And the buffet is the most important thing when you're traveling. Get up, have a cup of tea when you want it.
Yes. Yes. Um, One of the other
So,
trains that I was enough to travel on back, and I'm trying to remember when it was. It was when my late gran had her 90th birthday, and we went on the Orient
wow.
Express.
Oh, that would be awesome. I've watched the movie,
Yeah.
the old one and the new one. But yeah, I'd like to go on the Orient Express. We have two iconic trains in Australia. One's the India Pacific that goes from Sydney to Fremantle, Perth, goes right across the country. It is sensational. And it was there when I was a kid, but you had to change locomotives at different bits because
Right.
of the gauge was different
Oh,
between different
okay. Yeah.
states.
Yeah. Mm,
So they'd have to change sort of thing. But they built it in as part of it. And the other one we've got that people come out, I mean, people come out to that one, they'll often catch the train across Australia, then cruise home, or vice versa. Or the Garn, which goes from Adelaide to Darwin. But these are going across our inland. So it's probably for people the safest way to see the true outback
yes.
because you're safely on the train with your water and your air conditioning.
Mm.
And the dust that you see going along, you don't feel because you're inside the train. But as a kid, we used to line up when the Indian Pacific go by and we all wave like crazy because we knew when it was going to come and it was pretty much on time most days.
Yeah.
but it's probably one of our most famous trains. But as far as luxury is concerned, I don't think we have anything like the Orient Express or anything like that.
No, it was surreal really to be on, and all the wood paneling and the intricate work and the meal was just sublime. It was lovely. And yeah, we traveled from London down to Bristol. And then we met her sister in a hotel. My mum had made her favourite cake, and we then caught the Orient Express back again to London. And we had brunch going down, and I think we had a late afternoon lunch coming back. But it
Well,
was
that's
just,
pretty cool.
yeah, it
That was
was
the other
amazing.
thing that's really different about your trains and our trains. So, like the train to Yorkshire, which was keeping on going to Edinburgh or wherever it was going to, it had they came around and sold you food in your seats,
Yes,
and so I didn't have to get up and carry my cup of tea through the train. Somebody came and delivered it to me and took my order and took my
yeah,
credit card, and that
yeah.
was
The
really
the
nice
trolley, a
because
bit
here
like
you got it
when
like
you get the,
chop, 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 drink, drink, drink,
yeah,
get that feeling.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, a bit like the trolleys that they have on the planes. A bit like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But I love being naughty and standing between the two trains carriages and watching the world go by.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean,
But
steam train. I've seen the Mallard as well. I've that came through. We do get steam trains coming through our town here. If we look on the particular websites, they tell you what trips are going on and so on. And yeah, there are a few
well, I'm
stop.
going to do that. I'm going to contact you well in advance of my next trip to London to work out how I'm going to get on one of these steam trains.
Yes, it's yeah, they do trips. They do a lot of trips. So I can look out details of websites and so on um for you. That would be no problem at all.
No, but,
Yeah.
but you're right though. We live in with what we've got and we think it's terrible. And then we either travel to someone else or talk to someone from somewhere else and find out that it's a heck of a lot better
Yes.
than that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the high speed train from Hong Kong, from Hong Kong Airport to the main part of Hong Kong. Now that's a fast train. You really can't even try and take a photo out the window. It's so fast.
Yeah. A bit like the bullet, I
So I
suppose
always,
they have it in Tokyo.
well, yeah, it's the equivalent of it, yeah.
Ah, right.
But does the mallard actually do? So the mallard is that like the mallard that's in the museum or another mallard type
I think it was
mallard?
I saw it I think it was before she stopped service.
Right. Do they
I
have
think
any other train museums like the one in York,
I
the
don't think
National
so.
Rail Museum?
Not sure. I would need to because there are local there are obviously your main museums, but there are might maybe sort of local museums. I think there's a local museum up near me, but that's to do with all the signs, railway signs, I think. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a different
Okay.
sort of museum. But yes, I think you've got the main ones and then you've got the little local ones. So I would need to have a scout around and see what there is really. But yes, it is.
Because you're
It is
still in miles per hour. Do you
yes,
use miles per hour or kilometers per hour?
miles per hour,
Which one?
miles per hour,
Miles.
mph.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that'd be quite. Well, you read something that says 100 miles per hour and you think that's really fast until you realize that that's not 100 kilometers an hour,
Yes.
and you have to translate 160 kilometers per hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really funny.
Yes. And a lot of
As some of these,
countries do. They split because Southern Ireland, Northern Ireland is imperial, and Southern Ireland, of course, is metric. So
because
you
they're in the union,
cross over the border and you
is
you
that,
you in kilometers. Yeah. Yeah.
what's other interesting thing is I tease Americans at my nighttime shows because I give everything in kilometers or light years or whatever.
Yes.
And I'd say something's 9.5 trillion kilometers away. And then I'll say, and then they'll go, how much is that in miles? I said, oh, that's right. You kick the empire up, but you keep their measurements. And they all laugh. It is
Oh,
funny. They kicked the Brits out of the US, big deal, War of Independence, July 4th and all of that. And then they keep your measurement system and stick out like a sore thumb in the world.
yeah, it's
I think
strange,
it's
isn't it?
funny.
Huh?
I just find that really funny.
Yes. Yeah. 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 They're
But bit of worthless information. Can I give you a bit of worthless information? This
yeah,
I
go
think
on.
this is really cool. You know how Greenwich mean time and
Yeah.
line that you have at the observatory, that's slightly off anyway. But that line, before then, there were prime meridians all around the world. Every major area had a prime meridian, and Washington, D.C. had three.
Right.
So the Americans and North America wanted their trains to run on time. So they wanted one standard time zoning so they could make better timetables.
Hmm.
So they ran this great move to get a prime meridian. And in the end, it ended up being London got it because of the fact that 29 of the world's largest shipping companies use London as its base. So
Oh,
it was all the fault of the train timetable that Greenwich got Greenwich Mean Time and that we all use it as now universal coordinated time. See,
oh,
the two mixed. See,
wow.
that was my worth of bit of trivia for you.
But who knew that? I mean, that's that, yeah. Wouldn't even think of that as a point of reference for train times. I suppose yeah,
I just thought that was interesting.
yeah, it makes sense. Gosh, the things you learn on here.
Oh, yes.
Donna, we've had a,
The so
yes, go on.
sorry, I apologize. We've got a link. We've got latency because of the satellite connection at my end, and I
Ah,
keep forgetting to allow for it. I get carried away.
that's right. It's no problem at all. I love enthusiasm. Um, we've had a fabulous chat about trains and a little bit other, more aside. Um, and I think that we've got to our time. It's been brilliant, and what stands out to everything that we've chatted about this evening is the coal, the lump of coal going in your pocket, a black bit of coal going
Yes.
into a grey dungarees. No, no, you can't see the coal that I got in my pocket. Ah, that
Oh,
just is just yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Donna, for
thank
this
you, Carolyn.
amusing, interesting stories that we have about trains. I'm sure there are lots more stories to be told, but unfortunately, we need to end the stories for this evening.
We do.
Um, and I'd like to thank you again for joining me.
And thank you for having me. It's awesome, great fun.
Thank you, Donna.